Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a Monday Night Football version of The Real and the Rare. And I am alongside my co-host Xavier McKnight. And Xavier, what do we have on the program tonight?
Well, Scott, it's very interesting, especially here in the state of Florida right now. And once again, a good evening to everyone as well. The Florida State Seminoles, they made headlines on Saturday, and they made even bigger headlines on Sunday. The headlines on Saturday, them losing to the Miami Hurricanes at home. It was absolutely embarrassing. Neither one of these teams is very good this year. But, just, my goodness, Scott, how the mighty have fallen. It seems like it wasn't too long ago that Florida State was one of the top 5 teams in the nation. And I don't even have to go as far back as 2013 when they had an undefeated season and won a national championship. And I don't have to go back farther than 2014 either. Just allow me to take you really quickly to the 2017 season, if you may.
Sure.
Opening night, Alabama versus Florida State, the headline game of the week. Alabama came into that game ranked number 1. Scott, do you remember what Florida State came into that game ranked as?
Cannot recall.
Number 3.
Okay.
They were number 3 in the nation, and this was just 2017. So this was 2 years ago. And Jimbo Fisher, he left that program in a mess. God bless Willie-Taggart. I'm pretty sure he's going to find his way somewhere else. But the headlines on Sunday, the Florida State Seminoles officially dismissing Willie-Taggart as the head coach of that program. He went 9-12 in 21 games in his tenure there. The administration came out today and they said it was a very difficult decision, but the wins and loss record definitely played a role here. And this is Florida State we're talking about, Scott, and this decision really reminds me a lot of what happened a few years ago with Charlie Strong in Texas. When the alumni and the boosters, the team wasn't winning, they weren't doing what they were accustomed to, and, they just said, enough. We're going to take our money, we're going to take our sponsorships, if you don't get us a better coach in here. And that's where I ultimately believe that this ended up coming to for the Florida State Seminoles. Many people want to say that this isn't a good job, but, we're going to speak more to that in just a second. But, what are just your thoughts really quickly on Florida State giving Willie-Taggart his walking papers?
Totally unfortunate for Willie-Taggart. Not totally feeling sorry for him. I'll give you 17 million reasons why I'm not. Okay, he's got a big, hefty buyout. So if he takes a little time off, not the worst thing on the planet, he'll get compensated. I do believe he'll land with another job someplace. It's hard to tell where. But, Willie's been known for building programs, and I think this is just a bump in the road for him. Yeah, Jimbo Fisher definitely left the program in a tough spot, and unfortunately Willie didn't have enough time to go ahead and put his mark on it. So, yeah, one of those situations where, you deal with a alumni base and boosters and fans that have high expectations, and what do you got? ESPN's Kirk Herbstreit has been really down on the Seminoles, and for good reason. I think that Kirk knows that the guy got a raw deal, and it's just totally unfortunate the way the big businesses in college football. I think Herbstreit went as far as to say this is just a bad job outright. You know what I mean? And it's a dysfunctional situation, and unfortunately, I'd like to see where the Seminoles go from here.
Well, I'll say this to what Kirk Herbstreit had to say. It appears to be a bad job now, but I believe this can be cleaned up because this is still one of the blue blood college football organizations, Scott. I mean, Bobby Bowden and the tradition that he built there over the years, that has not gone away. That mystique has not gone away. Now, here's what doesn't help the case right now. The Clemson Tigers have become an absolute monster. They clearly run the ACC. It doesn't help them. It's not good for Miami. It's not good for any of the other opposition in the ACC. But this is still Florida State. And these are still the Seminoles, and that tradition is real. And I spoke with you about pie-in-the-sky-like prediction that came to my mind. But lo and behold, some news came down today that Lane Kiffin is actually interested in the Florida State Seminoles head coaching vacancy. What are your thoughts on this?
I'm not surprised. I mean, here's a guy that's no stranger to bigger jobs. Whether he gets the job or not is another story. But why not? You have one of the larger schools in the state of Florida with an impeccable recruiting base. Who wouldn't be interested in the job, especially if you're a coach in the state? So, but bear in mind, Lane Kiffin's body of work in the past, he goes to Tennessee, leaves after a year, goes to USC, has a few good years, gets fired. And then, of course, the Raiders situation was a situation where it was hard for work under Al Davis. So, I don't know. So the only job he was able to get for a period of time was the Florida Atlantic job, which, by the way, he's done a pretty good job. I believe he's 22-13 there. So, with a game against Florida International University over the weekend. So, I'm not surprised he threw his hat in the ring. Do I think he gets a job up there? No.
Well, here's what I'll say in regards to that. Who else can they go out to get that would be an attractive hire right now? Because it's like Kirk Herbstreit said, it's not as fascinating as a job as it once was. So somebody has to come in and build that mystique back up. And I believe it can be revived. I don't believe that tradition there is dead at all. This is not dead in the water. We'll just have to see how this ends up playing out. But it won't surprise me if Lane Kiffin does end up as the next head man down at Florida State. And I could see him reviving that program. He won't do it very quickly. But I could see him coming around and reviving that program around in its second year. Will they be competing for a college football playoff spot? Probably not. Just simply because Clemson is an absolute juggernaut, and you have everyone in the SEC to compete with. You have other schools out west in the Midwest. It's only so many recruits that are there to go around. But this is Florida, and this is a football state, and a lot of these kids, they know what those big three are, Scott. They know, and this is in no particular order, but they've all had their time where they were atop the college football world. Miami, Florida State, and the University of Florida.
Well, if he does go there, his former offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, who was with him in Boca Raton with the Owls, is there. So we won't have to go very far to find that guy, that's for sure. So I think a guy that I've heard, I know that there's a lot of coaches that will be considered for the job. But one of the ones that I think would be very considered for the job is a guy by the name of P.J. Flack out of Minnesota, who's having a really nice year. He really is. And, that to me, I think is something that you definitely look into all the way. Fleck has done a good job wherever he's gone. So I think he's a guy.
Yes, I agree. I agree that would be a good hire as well. But it's something about Kiffin that's just, to me, it's just almost there for the taking.
Well, it's almost there for the taking in your eyes because it's probably the most obvious choice in your mind. But I was going over the list of candidates, a lot of them assistants from within the ACC, some of them are from Clemson and other places. And, those guys could be attractive candidates because they know how good of a job Florida State is. They really do. So there's familiarity there. And, it's never... I think Kiffin's probably the only one that happens to have a head coaching on his resume, but there's a lot of good candidates within the ACC that I think could be viable possibilities.
Now, let me ask you this question, because you brought up candidates in the ACC, assistant coaches at Clemson in particular. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm about to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Venables has been one of the hottest sought-after coordinators in college football for a few seasons now, but he refuses to leave Clemson. Is it possible that this could be the job that finally lures him away from Dabo Swinney?
I don't know about this one. I really don't. Maybe he knows more about this job than meets the eye, but so maybe he stays with Clemson. He has a good thing going. Maybe he might be the guy that ultimately succeeds Dabo Sweeney when the time comes. So maybe I might cross his name off the list, but there's probably a lot of other ones out there besides him.
We will have to wait and see how this ends up playing out, but it's very interesting to see. And something else I'm going to be watching out for the rest of the year, Scott. I'm just going to be watching the fight of the Florida State Seminoles football team for the rest of the year. They're not a very good watch right now. We understand that, but they do have players who can play. And I want to see if the remainder of this coaching staff, are they going to be able to get the best out of these kids? Because, I'm just going to take it to an NFL situation really quickly right here.
Sure.
We saw how the Miami Dolphins started this season out. But in the past few games, they absolutely were fighting their tails off. And yesterday, it finally happened. The Dolphins won their first football game of the season and ending a 10-game win streak. And a huge win for Brian Flores. That team obviously loves him. They're fighting for him. And it could be another similar situation to what the Raiders have going on right now with what we could see with the Dolphins, especially them accumulating all of these draft picks. We'll have to wait and see. But I want to see if the Florida State Seminoles players are going to fight for this current coaching staff, because maybe there's somebody on that staff now who the administration and the athletic director may be looking at that we don't know about just yet.
Well, the interim guy, I think, led the Seminoles, I don't know the guy's name off the top of my head, led them to a bowl game, and I think they ended up winning it a couple of years ago, but he doesn't want the job from what I hear. So, but he is the guy that's been with the program for 30 years. So, so when you think about that per se, you might have some internal candidates, but I still think they're going to try to get a big splash outside of the university to see what they can come up with. I mean, that's just my gut feeling. Don't anybody thinks that I'm a source, I know anybody about this. Probably not. But, like anything else, it's hard to tell. I think there's going to be a lot of great jobs that are open up. I think Mark Stoops, wasn't his name mentioned in that group? I don't see Bob Stoops leaving the XFL team at all to go take this job. I think Bob Stoops is a Florida guy, from what I've heard. So I can't imagine he'd want this, but the coach at Mark Stoops, I could see him as a possibility. He's done a good job with University of Kentucky, a school that doesn't have that good of a football history, at least in recent years.
And before we transition to the next topic, Scott, I'll just tag along to your Bob Stoops comment simply just by saying this. Whatever Florida State offers, Vince McMahon can match.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, I don't think Bob Stoops wants the pressure of having to go through the recruiting. If he did, I think he would have left Oklahoma in the first place. I think he's content to probably go ahead and, coach 10, 11 games a year without all the headaches that he has to deal with recruiting and all the headaches and all that stuff. So at some point or another, you get tired of it after a while.
And now we'll transition from a losing situation to a winning situation. That being the Baltimore Ravens being led by Lamar Jackson and a head coach who many have underappreciated and have underestimated for so many years. And just last year, there were people actually calling for him to be on the hot seat. They were calling for him to lose his job.
Right.
And this year in particular, especially with the hiring of Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, he's proven once again that he is one of the more brilliant minds in the game, and he deserves more respect. That would be John Harbaugh. Scott, I have to say this right now. When tight end Nick Boyle of the Baltimore Ravens, when he came out last week and he said that